Hey guys, what's up? My name is Joshua Suli Ruka, your host of the Impact Podcast Show. And guys, before I get into this massive podcast episode, I've got a massive guest on the other side. Before I do even get into it, I've got two things that I want to share to you all just quickly. The first one is I would like to say thank you. I want to say thank you to those out there that are listening to this episode either through Spotify or Apple Podcasts. But I also do want to say thank you to those out there that are watching this podcast through our YouTube channel. And so if you guys don't know, we do have a YouTube channel for those out there that are listening. And so make sure that you guys like this video if you are receiving some value. And I would love to see your thoughts, right? I would love to hear your thoughts. Comment down your thoughts. And put it right down for those out there that are watching this video. And guys, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click on that bell button for the latest updates to our next video. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. But the second thing I do want to say, and this is one thing I love sharing, and it is our mission. Right? I'd love to say our mission, and our mission is simple. Our mission is to focus on impacting the one. And so if you guys get impacted by this podcast episode, I would highly encourage you all to share it to someone else that can benefit from this. Because remember, it only takes one person to change someone's life, and that could possibly be you, and that would be cool. But hey, knowing that I've just finished doing the introduction, now we can get into the nitty-gritty part right here. All right, I've got a special guest on the other side, and I want to just share just a bit about, why I actually got him on here. I think many people, would perceive, some of the people that I get onto the Impact Podcast Show and be like, why do you get them on here? Like, why do you get them on? And so I want to share to you guys why. There was a specific video that I watched, and he's going to talk more about it. I'm heading into this podcast episode, but there was this specific video that I had watched of him, and all I could say to myself is that, man, I want to know more about this guy, right? I know that this guy has so much gold in him that all he needs is just a safe place, right, to open up. Right now, we know the go in terms of social media, right? We know how evil it is, but we also know how much of a blessing it can be too. And so, guys, I want to introduce you all, my next special guest on the Impact Podcast Show, my man on the other side of this call, Pnuks. Welcome to the Impact Podcast Show.
Hello everyone. Hi, what's up? My name's Pnuks, and I am saying my name because that's who I am. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Nah, bro, honestly, I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you for taking out the time. I do know that, you may have a busy schedule, or that you do have, bro, you could be doing anything else right now. But I know that you made the decision to come on here. So thank you so much for jumping on.
All good. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, guys, if you don't know, we actually had like a 30-minute conversation before we jumped on. Bro, tell them how the conversation was.
If you can imagine yourself being with the boys and you're dropping bars, right? You're dropping fire, and it's just non-stop, and the energy is just consistent. Yeah, it was just us two. It was. I would recommend.
Yeah. It was so funny because, Pnuks was saying to me, bro, is this recording? Because, we literally need to get this on. And I'm just like to him, bro, we need to keep this to ourselves, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But hey, bro.
Pretty much.
Yeah, legit, man. Well, what we're going to do right now is we're going to get straight into the podcast. And, I do understand that we do have some of your followers that are going to be listening on to this, but we also do have the Impact community that will be tuning on to this podcast episode too. And so, bro, I would love for you, man, to take out this time just to introduce yourself for those out there that may not know you.
Right. Okay. Introduce myself. So my name is Pnuks. I am Cook Island Māori. I'm Polynesian, but really Pacifica. I'm a youth worker. I work in the community. I work in different parts of Sydney. So I'm in Sydney, New South Wales, Australia, for those international people, I guess. And yeah, so the content that I do on TikTok is more, it was really focused on my disability because I am an amputee. I've got one fake leg. And growing up as Polynesian, I thought I would be able to share my experiences on the platform when I got a large enough following. So that's what I did. A music in Instagram profile that's focused on Polynesian hip hop scenes in Australia, shared my video that I made around the bare minimum. It was shared with no context, and it created a big red target on me head. And then everyone might know what happened afterwards. And oh my goodness, what a zesty journey it's been so far.
Yeah, wow.
That's me.
Yeah, that's pretty much him. No, but like that was the reason why I was able to get in contact with you, bro. Was because there was a specific video that I had watched, and I was very curious, man. You know, as a curious person that I am, I'm like, you know, instead of me just going based on the information that's on social media, I want to actually talk to him face to face, you know, and this is probably as close as we're going to get, obviously due to the pandemic, and also in like obviously based on our time and sort of things like that. But yeah, I can't wait, bro. You know, I actually I'm probably more excited than nervous because I believe that people are actually going to hear the real side to the story and they're actually going to get the real context behind what you're going to say. But we're going to get into that, you know, very like later on into this session. But the first thing I want to do, man, is I want to talk about you, bro. You know, I feel like there is so much more in you, right, that a lot of people don't really know much about. And so, bro, one thing I believe in, man, is that before the glory, there is always a story. You know, before your glory stages, before moments of you, you know, receiving your greatest achievements, there's always a story that we go on. And so I guess I want to go on a journey, bro, to know more about you as a person, but I also believe that there is other people out there that could get the same benefit too, especially your loyal followers, you know, the ones that are actually for you and beyond. And so I guess, bro, the first thing I do want to ask you, man, is bro, would you be comfortable in sharing a bit about your upbringing?
Well, always. Upbringing. How far do you want to go back? I guess,
bro. Any time for you, bro. Anything.
Right. Okay.
Wherever you want to start.
Man, I'm just because I've told my story many a times. I'm just trying to condense it as much as I can because it is a very long story and involves a lot of barriers and adversities, especially in the last 7 years. So, I guess my upbringing. I grew up in a Pacifica household. There's a lot of cultural expectations from like, you know, the older siblings to the expectations of duties and stuff like that growing up. But I think what I want to focus on in regards to my journey, my story, the cultural barriers. So stuff around the lack of financial literacy, the prevalence of domestic violence, the stigma of mental health in our community, and my upbringing when it came to that, and trying to not force, but definitely influence and encourage my parents to adopt a much more inclusive and supporting concept around these issues and stuff like that. So my journey in Australia, South Australia. So parents came to Australia to make economical and educational opportunities because there was a lot here. You can do the same job in Australia and get paid twice as much than what you would in New Zealand. So that's no-brainer to come to Australia. And because of that, and not only that, there was a lot of negative influences in New Zealand, which forced my parents to move over. Like, there's the cultural barriers and expectations. Being Pacifica and being Māori, being Cook Island and being Māori, statistically, everything is already against us. At this current moment, I believe that 50% of the prison inmate population in New Zealand is just Māori. It's just one nationality. That's absolutely crazy. We are overrepresented in mental health situations, yet we're extremely underdiagnosed when it comes to mental health. We have extremely poor health rate statistics, poor life expectancy statistics. So that was, again, another big reason why we moved to Australia. And it's a really difficult pill to swallow when you have to realize that as someone who's Indigenous to New Zealand, someone who's Māori, you could literally thrive in any other country but your own, because statistically you're not supposed to exist. Or what I'm doing now as someone who is going into further education, creating a platform, creating a community and an audience on a platform that's growing, and I guess having these qualifications and lived experiences and working is a statistical anomaly. It's not supposed to exist based on the numbers, right? So I guess having all of that is, that's what I can say at the moment without really exposing myself too much because the internet and stuff. So I can go a little bit more, but I think we can leave that for later into the podcast or YouTube video if you're watching this, listeners. Hi.
Nah, bro. Actually, you know what, man? Like, I'm actually so grateful that you shared about the cultural, I guess, indifferences or I guess cultural barriers because, if anything, I know that's probably the main cause or the main reason as to why there was so much backlashes, and if you don't know, if anyone doesn't know like what is going on or if especially to the impact community, because we do have people out there that may not know you, but also may not know the situation. And so, but could you kind of give people a bit of an understanding? Because I am actually thankful that you are holding yourself. You know what I mean? You're upholding yourself because people don't understand, man. When it comes to the internet, bro, the internet can literally like hit you left, right, and center, and you wouldn't even realize it. Even if you're trying to be true, even if you're trying to be transparent, everyone's always got a twist to a story. So, bro, I do want to acknowledge you, man, and say, bro, good on you for actually upholding yourself because I've seen other creators just fall short and end up, losing themselves, especially in this social media world. But could you kind of explain to those out there that may not know what had happened based on you and being like that poly dude that has
the bare minimum guy. I was the bare minimum guy.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So could you share a bit about that?
Yeah, so for those who have not seen the video either on my platform on TikTok or on the Instagram page shared by poly rappers and every other young person that's been sharing that video, for good or for bad, I highlighted a problem in the community where because I have lived experiences of this, and not only that, because I'm a youth worker who engages with various young people, including Pacifica young people, but not just Pacifica young people. There are commonalities of a culture of this, and this is the thing. I used the word culture, but that was in a different video. Praising the bare minimum, and for those who attacked me in that video were confusing appreciation and gratitude for praising as if they're the same thing. It's not the same thing because the way and because of the context that I was explaining it in is that when parents are weaponizing the hard work they do to leverage and guilt trip their children into contributing to them financially, is terrible. That's a form of child abuse. It's if you're doing if it's physical abuse, psychological, social, or financial abuse, it's a form of domestic violence. But because our community, and I can say this with much confidence, that in our community there is a massive stigma around criticizing and speaking up around wrongs that are happening, like sexual assault. Although it's not sexual assault, you're just young, you're just confused. Why are you trying to bring shame to the family name? Why are you trying to bring shame to the family name? Sorry, Mum, how dare I? It's rude of me to think about my well-being instead of the family name. I should always put the family name above anything, including my well-being. How rude, how silly of me. It's just silly, yeah. And the comment section, so the amount of people that had a knee-jerk reaction in the comment section of polyrappers were either people talking about points that I never made in the video or personal attacks. That was it. That was the only feedback. Now, some people, they almost got the point. They almost got what I was talking about and then completely missed it. They completely missed it, and it was really upsetting. And I guess the themes that were carried on were not only personal attacks and points that I never said, but the argument of saying, "Oh, I agree with you, but you could have said it differently. You could have said it nicely. You could have said it better." And I refuse to accept that because there's no good way. There is no positive way to talk about a negative thing. Like, how are you supposed to hype yourself up positively to say a terrible thing? That's a reality. So yeah, for those listeners, that's the situation. I copped a lot of flack from so many people, and now it's gotten to the point now I'm just clapping back now because from the negativity, there was a lot of positivity coming from that video, and a lot of the positivity were coming from young people who are in positions of vulnerability where they cannot speak up. They message me on private accounts to let me know, hey, thank you so much for talking about this. I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only young person going through this. I didn't know. And not only that, but people wouldn't believe me when I said this was happening. They just wouldn't believe me. Thank you for speaking up. And I'm like, worth it. Absolutely 100% worth it. If I was given the opportunity to do this again, will I take it? 100% I'll take it. Knowing that this is what's going to happen, knowing that not only young people but grown adults who are in like they're in their own family now, speaking up and be like, I had to leave my family because they were doing this to me, they were exploiting me, they were abusing me, and me and my partner had to leave. They hate us now. But look at this, I'm now financially independent. I've got a structure in my life. I'm able to save and invest in property and have a mortgage and do all these things that gives me agency over my own life. I could never imagine this happening if I stayed with my family, my community. And it's really upsetting that from my experience at the moment, I've been meeting up with very successful Pacifica people, and their experience, the majority of it is they only became successful the moment they broke out of the community because they just weren't supporting them. It's a really weird crab bucket mentality or tall poppy syndrome mentality, where unless you're bringing everyone up with you, don't try and go up at all. And it's like, that's really hard. That's why we're still in the same situation we're in right now, and other communities are thriving. What's going on? So yeah, that is the current situation at the moment.
I love it, man. I love it. I love how you explained it. With context, because if we know, we both know, and I think also too, your followers would know too that there's a lot of people that did take the specific video that you put up out of context, and this is actually the whole reason why I wanted to get you on here, man. Is that there are so many people out there that are living a life full of a lie and not actually being exposed to the truth. And so I wanted to add it into your point, man. Like you were mentioning about, some of the people that were kind of giving you some shades and, commenting and started to kind of like provoke you, but more importantly, like they were focusing on your identity. And I think one thing that I've learned through that, even on my own journey, because like I've had that too, and it's the crazy thing about TikTok, right? Is that you have like random people that don't even have, a face on their account, and they would love to say something. And I've seen that, and I'm like, bro, it's such a norm, right? It's such a norm for that to come into like on your comments. But we both know that those out there that can't really hear the message to what the messenger is saying, we know that there is some sort of underlying truth that they're not wanting to accept, or there's no underlying truth that they're wanting to accept into their life. And so, if anything, if there are people out there that are they may not like you as a person, or they may disagree you as a person, or what you do, but they understand the message. They understand that, hey, this guy's actually on point when he's talking about the bare minimum, or if he's talking about a certain particular youth issue or a cultural issue in a specific culture. But that's why I wanted to get you on here, is because there are so many people that will target you as a person and that will try to exploit you or try and do the very thing that you're doing. But realistically, they don't really know much the heart behind why you're doing it. And so I guess my question to you, man, is what is the real heart as to why you're wanting to exploit, all these issues or bring out the truth? Because I feel like everyone has their different reasons, but what's
it was a meme. This started off as a joke. This wasn't even a real thing. It really wasn't. I saw a TikTok video of a Middle Eastern content creator in America, and how he's struggling he's struggling to understand why his parents are providing the bare minimum and exploiting that to justify giving him nothing, to justify it. That's not helpful. And when I did it, so his video, the original video, is very extreme, very loud, a lot of swearing, a lot of passion, a lot of anger. My one was not. Mine was actually very neutral in the video, and it wasn't attacking anyone. And a lot of the points of people were like, oh, but he said all Polynesians. No, I said Polynesian edition. You know why? Because I'm Polynesian. It doesn't make sense to put Asian Polynesian and I'm doing this because I'm not Asian, so I'm Polynesian. You may a lot of the people that use that point would jump into conclusions, assuming that I said that this means all Polynesians. Like, really, a lot of people just jump into conclusions. I wasn't surprised. That that happened. And matter of fact, it was the comment sections, the feedback on either my video or Polyrapper's video is a reflection of our community. And it's a reflection of the people. It's a reflection of the reaction that you're going to get if you speak up. If you speak up, this is what you're going to get, this comment section. And it's very frightening. And I can understand why, I can understand why a 15-year-old working drive-through at Macca's and having all their money and their savings taken off them is going to be afraid of speaking up because they're going to get my comment section. There's a lot of good intent behind why I did this, but it's not the main focus of my content. Like, my content has nothing to do. It was another reason why I took so long to cover this topic on my platform, because I knew this was going to be the exact reaction that's going to happen. I know it was going to be needed. Someone was going to have to talk about this one way or another. It was going to happen, especially with the growth and awareness of Gen Z and millennials on TikTok. It's so there are so many barriers being unpacked, so much trauma getting unpacked and revisited on TikTok. It's amazing. So I was like, yeah, well, we're going to have to talk about this in our community one way or another. It's just going to happen. It just happened last month. No, 2 months ago was the time it happened. So that was a thing.
Yeah. And so just to clarify, so your why wasn't even a part of a why. Like the video wasn't even a part of your why. It was actually just something that you had watched, and it gave you I wouldn't say giving you an idea, but it gave you a perspective to be like, wait, I'm literally going through the same thing. Like, although we're different cultures, the one thing that we're going through that is similar is the bare minimum. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It was simply just an idea, and it was a video, and it was an issue that crossed multiple cultures. In my comment section on TikTok, they were like, bro, this is happening in a Hispanic community. This is happening in the Nigerian community. Yeah, this is with us in Ghana. And I was like, yeah, I'm not surprised, bro. I'm not surprised this is happening in other cultures. Yeah, I just can't talk on behalf of your culture because I'm not from there. Yeah. I can talk from mine. And I never really thought of it. And the reason why I didn't think of it was because this should have been an obvious thing to point out. This is like, you have to be really, really, I don't want to use the word, but I would say it, brainwashed. Oh, the haters, oh my God. But you have to be deeply rooted in your culture and believe these ideas so much to refuse the reality that is abuse and that is terrible. Yeah, I mean, I made follow-up videos, and this is another problem. I didn't have to make follow-up videos because the original video was good enough as it is. I can say that with confidence because I saw the analytics that Polyrappers refused to. I don't know if you saw their post, but they absolutely refused to disclose it, and they try to flip the situation around to make it sound like I was desperate for data. And it's like, no, the reason why I'm asking you for your analytics about the post you made about me was, well, first of all, it's about me, so it just makes sense. The second thing is, I want to see the engagement of positive to negative and what the real engagement is, because you're trying to make out that like everyone hates me, but when in reality, so many people agreed with me on that video and you don't want to admit it. And that's the reality. Yeah. So I went onto their profiles. I found a way to find their analytics. Found the ratio is like for every negative person, there's like 5 positive people. That's the engagement on that video. Yeah. And they didn't want to share that. Not only that, but the video they shared of me got twice as much engagement than any other previous or video afterwards. And for those who are listening, you can jump on my Instagram and see it. This is right there. I mean, I let it slide, but then recently they did another post trying to demonize young Pacifica people from pointing out some cultural flaws that we need to improve on so we can be better. But instead of doing something like that, they rather demonize and be like, "You're just ungrateful. You're just stupid." All these. It's like we're not outing our parents. We're just sharing our experiences because we know for a fact that other young people are going through this. So why are you trying to shut us down? Why are you trying to shut us down? Well, why are you being counterproductive in this community? So that's when I started clapping back at them, and so they don't want to respond. They're scared. I would be scared if someone was hitting me with facts that I couldn't argue because like they were literally using everything in a nutshell. It's gonna be fun. This is gonna be so much fun. I'm
I'm
so much
excited,
fun
man.
with them because every time they bring it up,
it's keen. I'm really keen to see how this all folds out, because this is the thing I've learned through it's not just a social media thing. This is society that we're talking about. When it comes to being a human, there's always people out there that are wanting good, but there's also people out there that are wanting bad. And the thing that you got to do, it's just like conflict resolution. People don't actually understand the concept of actually on resolving conflict. And it's funny because the goal isn't to. It's funny because you would know too as a youth worker, right? Being a youth worker, like how frustrating it is to work with some youth kids, right? Some youth kids that just don't want to listen, or they're wanting to, or start fights or whatever the case may be. And for us, as because I am a wellbeing officer myself, and we do come from a similar background of social work, bracket, or wanting to help people.
Yeah.
That like it can be very frustrating, but one of the things that I've learned through conflict resolutions is the word resolution. Like we shouldn't be focusing on resolving the conflict. We should be actually focusing on reconciling. Coming back together and being like, hey, I understand where you're coming from, and shaking hands and saying, all right, cool. I may not like you, but hey, I'm going to respect you as a person, but not. Like you may have different views, because we all have different views, right? We have different views. We have different, we have unique thoughts. And if anything, when it comes to the conflict issues that are happening around the world, I believe the one thing that we can do better at is actually reconciling, as opposed to, resolving the issue. And so knowing that you're going through this situation, with this bare minimum video that popped up, because if anything, that was the whole reason why I actually wanted to get you on here. Wasn't really much to talk about it, talk about the actual specific video, but it's like all the underlying stuff, the things that that everyone doesn't really know, like the context behind it. And so did you want to kind of share now and have the opportunity, would you want to use this opportunity now to share just on the context on what you were talking about through that specific video?
I'll do my best. It's been a while since I posted that video. That's like 7,000 years in TikTok time. Because shit just happened so quickly. Trends happen too quickly. So again, the context of that video was highlighting the flaws about, cultural protocols in regards to contributing back to the family and community, which is fine. That isn't the problem. It's when you're extracting more from someone than they can actually produce. For example, a 15-year-old young person working at drive-through McDonald's. Why is it an expectation for them to pay adult bills when they make like no money? Like I work at McDonald's drive-through, I make no money. Like that kind of no money. Why would you? It's unfair. Yeah, it's unfair. And I also touched on the fact that like if you speak up about this, then you're going to get domestic violence, and that's a whole can of worms when it in itself. And look, unfortunately, TikTok's a platform that's short form video. It's only 60 seconds or less. I cannot talk more about this issue in 60 seconds. No one can. However, what I did was start the conversation and get people thinking. And that was the idea. That was the idea of that. Obviously, some people didn't like that. Polyrappers. They just didn't like that. And yeah, it's really cheeky that they're like there's no presence of the admins on that page. It's just purely clout chasing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is me, yeah.
Yeah.
For those who are listening, you're not seeing my hand gestures. I'm doing a lot of hand gestures here. So watch the YouTube channel, watch the YouTube video. You'll see the hand gestures happening right now.
Yeah. No, but it's just good, man. Like I love what we're getting into, and it's crazy because, like, you know, I want to get more into your story, man, because, you know, obviously with you know, with certain boundaries, because obviously, like, you're on the hit list at the moment, right? You're
on the hit list. I'm fine. I hope I'm on the top.
yeah, you're on the hit list at the moment, bro. So like I am aware of that, but I guess, bro, you know, if you're comfortable, you know, just share like only the things you're comfortable obviously at this moment. But I want to kind of shift back into, you know, the story based, you know, because I know that we're talking a lot about, you know, the cultural issues and you know, talking about the bare minimum. We will kind of get back more into that at the end, but I really do want to get your story out there too. And I know that you have a story, bro. And I know that you have a story because you've been sharing it on TikTok, you know, through the very short burst, 60-second, you know, short form videos. But yeah, man, I guess the first question I want to ask you, bro, is, you know, of the life that you're living right now, of the position that you are right now, what would you say has been the biggest setback that you've gone through as a person?
Oh, being homeless. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Being homeless is one of the biggest setbacks. Probably being first generation Australian is another setback. Not being an Australian citizen is a setback. Being disabled is a setback. But you just have to do the best you can with what you've got, right? That's all you've got. So for those who don't know, and for those who are completely jumping to conclusions, because that's what we do best. That's what we do best in the comment section. Yes, we do. Because why not research the person we're upset about to find out if what they're saying is valid when we can just make judgments off their TikTok video? And for those listeners who don't know much yet about the feedback, a lot of it had to do, like, there are a lot of people from our community that were like, he's not even a real Polynesian. He's not even a real Mo. He's not even real. Hey, look at that traffic light that's in the TikTok video. It's in Newtown. What the hell does a traffic light have to do with anything here? Are you stupid, my guy? I'm stupid. But not only that, like, yeah, okay. I currently live in this Sydney CBD. I currently am staying in what could be perceived as an affluent area. But my guy, I'm in Department of Housing, my guy. There is nothing affluent about being in the Department of Housing. Like, it sucks. I would rather be a rich person in a poor neighborhood than a poor person anywhere. Anyway, you know. So it was extremely entertaining to me to read the comments of Pacifica people just like jumping to so many dumb conclusions. Oh, listen to this person, he sounds white. Listen to this person, he sounds colonized. It's like, actually, no, it's not my fault that I took the time to learn words that had more than 2 syllables. That's on you, my guy. That's on you for not understanding what I'm talking about. It's not my responsibility to teach you this. You should already know this. So yeah, having people judge me on what I do and they don't know who I am, is again a reflection of how toxic this trait is in our community. Is that they're ready to jump based off nothing. They're based off nothing. If they really wanted to know who I am, they don't even have to look hard. You can even just Google my tag, my username, and then you'll see you'll see an article somewhere of my real name. Then you can just Google my real name and you'll see everything I've done in the community. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. But I'm not surprised that they didn't do it. I'm not surprised that they didn't do it. I'm not the one that looks stupid though. And there are so many Pacifica people hitting me up in my DMs on Instagram wanting to just have a conversation. Again, listeners, I am doing air quotes right now if you don't see it. So I just want to talk to you. I just want to get to know the truth. But in reality, they're trying to find anything to attack you on. and they don't want to know anything about you. So it's really like there are some rappers in Western Sydney that are just like, they're doing that same thing. Oh, you have no idea what you're talking about. Oh, I did this, this, and this. I love my parents. I love my parents. I give my parents everything. That's awesome. That is great. I don't know why you're telling me this. I never questioned you about that. I don't know why you're telling me things that I never said. Oh, but like I give my parents everything. Yeah, okay, cool, awesome. Why are you telling me this? This video obviously doesn't apply to you if you're telling me this. What I was talking about in the video is a very specific situation, and the way the structure of the video works is if the story that I'm talking about does not apply to you, if the story that I'm talking about does not describe your situation or your relationship with your parents, then I'm not talking about you. If what I'm saying definitely describes your parents in the situation you're going through, then you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about, and you're most likely going to agree with it. And they did. So, in regards to who I am, yes, the homelessness situation, I've been through youth homelessness services. I went through like support services with Mission Australia, Bernardo's, Father Chris Riley, Youth Off the Streets, Headspace, local government. I've been through that system. I know what it's like. I've seen many young people come in and out of the services. I've seen many youth workers come in and out of the services. I'm pretty well-rounded on how the youth sector works in Metro Sydney. And I've created networks and relationships with these people from like everywhere in Metro Sydney. So that's like Greater Western Sydney, Southwest Sydney, North Sydney, Northern Beaches. Somewhat the eastern suburbs are a bit weird, but that's okay. That's okay. So yeah, that's a little snippet of, I guess, who I am as a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not the main focus. It's not the main focus of my content on the platform. And that's what people need to understand. Oh, he's just clout chasing. He's just doing this to get views. No, I'm not. Don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. This is just like a random thought. This was just an idea. Don't think that it's so dumb. Those comments are based on nothing. They're based on nothing. It's just like, look, it's not my fault you got offended by the truth and you're not liking it and you're trying to find anything to discredit me. That's not my fault. Just be a better person. Just try and better yourself. Don't try and attack me because you're gonna get slammed.
Yeah, no, I get you, bro. I fully understand where you're coming from because, I wanted to raise a point because there was something that you did mention then. It was about the fact that there was a lot of people, within the society, but most importantly our area, the area that we're in, where there's a lot of like illiteracy in around us. And I did want to mention to the viewers out there and also to those out there that are listening that you have right here right now two polys having a conversation about an issue that has been arising that we already know that is actually true. Like it is true, right? It is a true thing. Like I've seen it myself, and I'm literally around it.
There's evidence behind it. The rates of Pacifica being incarcerated in juvenile justice systems, and this could be for various like negative reasons. Lack of finances, domestic violence at home, drug dealing, criminal activity, like everything. And people are like, oh no, that's not the Samoan community. That must be the Tongan community. Oh, it's not the Tongan community. It must be the Fijian community. Oh, it must be the boogeyman then. If it's going to go around in circles, because it must be no one then. It must be nothing. That's why it must be no one. And that's what I absolutely hate is the lack of accountability, because there's this sense of like undeserving pride that people have. It's like, why are you so prideful over something you should not be prideful about? Or why are you putting your pride over literally anything else? Because it helps no one. It helps no one, yeah. Oh, awesome. You donated like $20,000 back to the islands. Awesome. Your children who you sucked dry must feel so amazing about that they are contributing to people that you've never introduced them to people that they have no idea or any connection to. Like, you must feel like an awesome person doing that to your family. or everyone's attacking me. Everyone's attacking me. I can feel it. I can feel it right now. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. What are you gonna do? It's the truth. It's what's happening in the community. But people don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that because it goes against everything they've been raised to believe.
Yeah, and you know what too? Like just to add on to what you were saying, I think one thing that we all should be doing better at is staying curious. You know, it's the one thing that I got taught only a few years ago, and it's really helped me in understanding, you know, people. But most definitely, like when you're going on social media, people need to understand when you're going on social media, there is only so much content that you can receive based on the information that you're receiving on social media, whether it's an IG reel, whether it's a TikTok video. And the cool thing about me and Pnuks is that we understand that we're creators ourselves, right? We are creating, you know, we are putting content out there where we're wanting to add value, but there's only so much that we can put out there, right? That people can consume. And the one thing that I've learned, you know, just through, you know, like within the past few years is that, you know, staying curious can actually get you to find out the real truth, right? It will get you to find the real truth if you just stay curious. So, you know, I want to share to people out there, you know, this is something that I wouldn't say I've never done. It's things that I don't really do, but I do think that this would help those out there that are listening, you know, gain a bit of education. And I think Pnuks would, you know, highly agree that, you know, education, I wouldn't say education is the way, but I'm saying that having an education can help you get educated onto knowing what the real truth is. And so I want to share to you guys right now. This is usually what I do on my own personal podcast. But I want to do it right now because I feel like this is really needed. Guys, there are 3 C's. All right. And this is something that I just created. I created the 3 C's. There are three types of people. Or I guess, 3 types of people that you're going to meet when you share a conflict issue, or when you get into, you know, sharing things that are going to, you know, feel a bit, you know, it's like, you know, touching the pain points. You know, it's going to really hit you hard, and it might hurt your feelings, right? There are 3 types of people. You're either going to, number one, meet someone that is confused, right? You're going to meet a confused person. That's the first C. And a confused person is a person that's just literally, they don't know. Right, they don't know what they're talking about, and that is being a confused person can really get you to be vulnerable, right? And to believe and to know that, hey, whatever is said on the comments, I'm just going to believe it. Why? Because I don't know what to believe, right? I don't know where my emotions at. I don't even know who I am. So guess what? I'm just going to follow on to people in the comments, or I'm going to, you know, anyone that writes down things that are negative. All right, I'm just going to focus on the negative things. All right, that's the first type of C. The second type of C is a confident person. Right now, a confident person is a person that they already know who they are. Right, they already know they don't need anyone to tell them. They know their identity, and so whether or not the person that they're watching, you know, the person that's created the content, they will go through, and instead of them being attached to the emotion, they'll just be like, they're more so attached to the message, right? Instead of them being attached to the messenger, they're being attached to the message. And I feel like confident people, the one thing that confident people can relate to really well with is maturity, right? Because guys, I need to tell someone this: age and maturity don't match, right? Age and maturity. Just because you're 60 years old doesn't mean that you're mature, right? I've met 15-year-old kids, right? And I've also met a 50-year-old kid, right? Because he's still a kid, right? Although he's saying that he's 50 years old, oh yeah, I'm mature. Realistically, we already know right now that you're not even confident enough to know yourself, right? So that's the second C. So you've got confused, right? You've got confident, and then the third C is the funny one, right? These guys are the funny one. I'll laugh so much. This is what you call your careless people, right? Your careless person. These are the ones that don't care about the person that said the message. They don't even care about the message. All they're wanting to do, right, is to chuck on some shades. And the reason why I wanted to share that is because I want to talk to those out there that are listening to this video, or watching this video, or listening to this podcast. I want to ask you right now, where do you sit? Right, where do you sit? You know, out of those 3, are you a careless person right now? You know, where you're like, I don't care about what Pnuks is saying, I don't care what Josh is saying, but I'm still going to tune in anyways, just so I can jump onto the comments and write down some hate. Hey, fine, you guys can do that. But realistically, we already know that you're broken, right? We already know that you're broken, and we already know that you're doing it out of insecurity. We understand that. But then you have those out there that are confused. And if you're confused right now, listening to this or watching this video, it's fine. It's okay. It's okay to be confused, right? I used to be that confused kid too. But the question I'm going to ask you right now is, what are you going to do now? Right? What are you going to do now about it? You see, for someone like Pnuks and also for myself, you see, we did go through this. We did go through this, growing up as a PI, right? As Pacific Islanders or Polynesians, right? We went through this ourselves, so we can actually share from living experiences, and that's the most powerful thing about what we do, is that we can share by lived experience that we've gone through. We can actually tell you guys the truth because we've gone through it, right? And so if you're confused right now, this is the reason why I get people on here. There's a reason why I got Pnuks on here, so that you guys can get a bit of clarity. Because at the moment now, you're probably most likely, you don't even know what to think. You don't know, you might be on here because, yes, you believe in what Pnuks is saying, but you've got a whole circle of people that you're surrounding yourself with that are literally thinking otherwise, right? They're probably providing hate to you because they listen to this video because the bare minimum, so on and so forth, or any other videos that Pnuks have, any video that he had shared or put up. And you're probably feeling a bit confused. But I do want to give right now a massive shout out to all those out there that have been confident enough, right? All those ones out. I don't know why I'm sharing this, but I needed to take out the time to, because I feel right now that if you're watching this, you already know why we're on here. You already know why me and Pnuks are having this conversation, because truth needs to get out. Right, truth needs to go out there, and there are too many kids. And this is the thing. This is actually the real root as to why I want to get you on here, bro. Is because at the moment, I'm in the same position as you, right? I'm a youth worker. I'm a wellbeing officer working in a primary school, and I see so many kids, right, either being confused or being careless about their education, or being careless or confused about actually understanding truth. And I do believe that this needs to be shared more. Right, I do believe that truth needs to go out there. And so I just wanted to plug that in right now, right? This is usually what I do on my own personal podcast, but I just need to share this right now because, as you were talking, bro, one thing that you did mention is that, that people should know, like the young people should know, and also that the parents should be teaching. But the thing is, we both know, man, that they're not. Right? We know that there's a lot of parents out there that either aren't educating the kids, but most likely it's maybe because, or potentially it may be because they don't even know themselves. So if anything, that's where we come in, as creators, and start to put out value, to kind of educate people. But obviously with society, that's not necessarily the case. And so, yeah, if you guys got some value out of that, please let us know. But yeah, I just want to, give it back to Pnuks.
Oh, hi. I don't know how to carry on about that. That was really good. Yeah. I feel like now, and a lot of people in the comment sections in regards to feedback were bringing up, their parents, and or bringing up their parents in the context of, oh, my parents came from nothing, they came from the islands and stuff like that, which is like, okay, fine, sweet, awesome. Then it probably doesn't apply to you, what I'm saying. What I'm talking about, again, are parents who know that they're doing this. They know that they're doing this, and they refuse to either improve on this and change it, or stop it completely. And when we live in a world where there is just instant access to it, as much information that is just worldly possible, it's really hard to use that, oh, but they didn't know. Because like, how do you not know? You're literally using the very device to comment on my video to, like, what I mean? Are you saying that the phone that you have only comments on TikTok? Or are you just refusing to accept that your phone can access the internet? And that's the thing I'm trying to get people to understand. Again, it's a lot of unpacking trauma. It's a lot of revisiting some really hard to swallow pills that's been just dormant in our community. There's so much to unpack here. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with the podcast Two Brownish Girls with Talitha and Cribs. They are two Pacifica girls in Greater Western Sydney that do a podcast. Yeah. So I was on there, and they cover their podcast themes are all about the Polynesian experience in Western Sydney and what it's like to have multiple cultures. And this is another thing I brought up, is the third culture, and that is you're too Australian to be ethnic, and you're too ethnic to be Australian. So there's an identity crisis. There is an identity problem in our community, and it's highlighted again in the comment section of Polyrappers. It's highlighted in my videos. Like this guy, this bare minimum guy, is trying to be a white person. He's trying really hard to be white, and it's like, are you only saying that because I'm using big words, air quote big words? And it usually is. I'm trying to challenge the narrative that being Pacifica doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go through poverty. Poverty, adversity, and being Pacifica are not. They're not like intertwined. And I feel like, and I think is it Silash? I was on another podcast called the Brown Table, Nights at the Brown Table, and she explained that for a while she associated and discredited, and I'm paraphrasing here, discredited a lot of successful Pacifica people because they didn't grow up the same way she did in regards to like poverty, low socioeconomic area, and stuff like that. So they must not be real. They must not be real Polynesians or Pacifica because they didn't go through poverty. It's like poverty shouldn't be a personality trait. That shouldn't be a requirement. And even the language situation. Oh, you can't speak Samoan, you can't speak Hokkaido, you can't speak Māori. Oh, you must not be a real islander then. And it's like, well, if you're going by that logic, how many words should anyone know to pass the test of being islander? Do I have to speak 7 words? Do I have to speak 27 words to be considered islander? Is that the benchmark here? Because if you think that's silly, it's because it is silly. It's absolutely stupid. Don't you? Your real identity should not be based on how many words you can say in a different language. It should be based on your connection to culture, your connection to language, your connection to land. Those are that's why the concept and ideas of mixed or quantum blood it just doesn't work here in Australia. It doesn't work here in the islands because, again, we're not fractions. We're not like 1/4 this, 1/4. No, if you have these qualities that can connect you to these things, then that's who you are. And this is a massive issue in in the representation of Indigenous people in Australia, where I'm not surprised, but Americans are like, you're not Aboriginal, you're not Indigenous, you got colonizer skin. And it's like, bro, do you not know what happened in like the 1940s, the 50s and 60s? Like, and this was a massive issue on TikTok where an American, air quotes, historian, he's an African-American historian, he's in like 18 or 17. Or he sounds like one, he could be in his 20s, I'll be very surprised. And he was talking about Indigenous history, and he was getting it wrong. And he was saying that to Indigenous people. And he refused to acknowledge his mistake, and he refused to respond to large Indigenous creators, and purposely only responded a comment response on TikTok to like small white passing Indigenous people without even knowing that they're Indigenous themselves. And it's just like, yeah. Oh, COVID. Going back to Pacifica and identity and the barriers and struggles. Yeah, we've got a cultural problem. We've got an identity problem. We've got this poverty problem in regards to like, you're not a real islander unless you've done this, and this. We've got a language. There's so much to unpack and there's so much to think, but I don't know if I can do this by myself.
Yeah.
And is it my responsibility? And maybe it is, maybe it isn't, to address this. Look, I'm just this random guy on the internet that just did funny leg videos. I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. This is just, yeah. But I guess people like what I do, so I'm just going to kick it for a little bit.
Yeah. Bro, I love it, man. I love like, if anything, bro, I love your heart, bro. Like, I love your heart on even just being yourself and not allowing society and also people in the social media world to dictate to you what to do. Because if anything, it just goes to show to me that you're confident, right? You're confident within yourself. You know who you are, and that you're not willing to be shifted. And the reason why I say this, right, and this is probably going to raise, some concerns with people, or it's either going to be a helping, this is either going to be a helping topic for you or a hurting topic. And at the end of the day, that is up to you, right? It's up to you how you perceive it, right? It's just like the, I don't know if anyone's seen like the 6 and the 9, right? The way that you see it, it's like, right, if I'm looking, if I'm looking at like from this way, right, I may look at it as a 6, but because you're on the other side, we're looking at the same number, but we're looking at it in different ways, right? We're looking at it from different angles. And so as a result, like you guys can take it for whatever way you want to, take this information, but allow me to share to you this, okay? When, like the reason why we're on here, right? The reason why we're actually having this conversation is because the truth needs to come out, right? And I don't know if this is actually going to, penetrate people, but at the end of the day, like it's either you're delusional, right? You are either being delusional or someone out there has actually brainwashed you, right? To believe.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say brainwashed.
Hey, I'm just no, and like allow me to elaborate. Now, let me give you guys a bit of context. This is me and Pnuks' first time talking, right? We've never spoken before.
Yeah,
if anything, the only time that we've actually had a conversation was through direct message on Instagram, right? When I asked them to, like, if we want to jump on. So just to clarify, like we didn't plan this, right? For all the skeptics out there that don't want to believe what we're talking about.
They're cousins.
Yeah, they're the same color. I'm like, I literally don't know this dude, right? This is just the first time that we've met. But you know what's so funny, just being, what they would say Islanders, it's like, bro, we're just really good at connecting. Like that's just pretty much it. Like we're just really good at kind of building that relationship. Hence why I believe that we're really good at being social workers. Like if there's anyone out there that can really kill the game, right, it's us.
there's a lot of representation of us in the social sector in New Zealand, and it's just like maybe we have too many, or maybe this is a reflection of how bad the problem is that there is too many. And that's because it's needed for some reason. But we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. That's too big.
Yeah, no, but hey, you know what's so funny, man? Like, I was just going to get into the point of, like, the reason why I had to state that it's either going to be a help or hurting thing for you is because, what I want to tell you right now is that not everything that you have learned through culture and also through a person isn't necessarily true. Right? I'm just going to put it out there, right? Not everything that everyone is saying in this world is necessarily true. So the reason why I say this is because you may be listening to this podcast and you may be watching this and being like, bro, but I heard something different. Like I heard a teacher in high school, she told me this. Or let's say in America, I was in America and I read this, specific source about Indigenous Australians, or Aboriginals or whatever they're calling it in the US, and they're giving this information when realistically it's not necessarily true. Now, when I heard you mention that, man, the first thing that came into my head is that not everything people share is necessarily true, and this is the reason why. You need to ask the follow-up question of why. Why? Well, asking the question why, there is so much power, but there's going to be so much clarity that you're going to get when you ask the question why. So, for example, if your parents, right, and I'm going to get real right now because this needs to be spoken about.
This is the real zone, guys. Real zone.
This is the real zone.
Radio up. Turn it up.
All right. So hear me out, right? If you have been told by your parents, right, of a specific thing that you already know is a lie, but you still believe it, okay, you have been brainwashed, okay? You haven't actually, it's either you haven't been taught, right? You haven't been taught on how to accept truth, or it's the fact that you don't care about the truth. And what happens is when you don't care about the truth, or that you're not wanting to know, or even that you don't know the truth, then you start making accusations. That's where you start being confused. And if you look into for me, like I work as a wellbeing officer. I will connect with kids, and I have this mindset of, okay, it's either you don't know what you're doing or you don't care. Right, it's either one of those two things. If you're having an issue, you're either in one or two spectrums. You either don't care or don't care about what you're wanting to learn, or you just don't know, right? Because no one has actually taught you on, for example, how to how to manage your emotions, or no one's actually taught you, or even in your family, on how to say no, or even at how to say yes, or even at how to talk. And that's a true beauty behind our role, working in this field, because we get to be that role model. We get to come in and teach you the very things that we didn't get taught ourselves. But allow me to get back into the truth, right? Let me get back into the truth zone, because there's been a lot of people that's been brainwashed, especially in society and in this world, because they believed in their parents. They believed in every little thing that their parents had said. Now, I want to tell you this right now. You need to understand that not only are you human, and not only are you going to make mistakes, but also your parents, right? Your parents do make mistakes too. And so this is the reason why I would highly encourage everyone out there, right, to get into the habit of asking the question, or the follow-up question, of why. So, for example, if mom says to you, and guys, I'm not saying for you ought to be disobedient to your parents, okay? I'm not saying that, all right?
Put a disclaimer, please. Be careful. You might look, if you do this incorrect, you might die. I just want to put that out there. Disclaimer.
I know, right? I'm just going to put a disclaimer there. I'm not telling you guys to be disobedient, okay? If anything, you are actually bringing truth up, and you're bringing the things that you're trying to hide. You're putting it into the light by asking the question why. So, for example, right, let's say Nook says to me that, hey, the grass is green on the other side, let's say, and I'll be like, okay, like, what makes you say that, or why do you think it is? And once you start asking the question why, then you start to actually understand the real heart, or the real reason why the grass is green on the other side, for example. But I know that there is a lot of children, or there's a lot of people that are in a family where it's not that you may not know. No, sorry, it may not be that you don't want to ask. It just means that you may not know. Like, you may just not know on how to get the truth out. The best way to get the truth out is just asking why. And it's all about your attitude, or I guess the way that you present yourself. So, coming in with a mindset of, hey, I'm actually wanting to know why, so then I know why I'm doing it, so that I know that there is purpose. So, like, for example, cleaning. Well, I know that cleaning was one of the issues, that was, a reason. I know that a lot of I don't think it's just a PI thing. I think it's like in general, like, when you get into or clean up your room, it's like, okay, I was that kid growing up that I'll always ask why. Right? I'd always ask why. Okay, why do I have to clean my room? Oh, and then, like, my mom would teach me, right? My mom would tell me, like, this is the reason why you clean your room. This is the reason why we wash the dishes. There's always so much power when you ask the follow-up question of why. And so I just wanted to share that, because when people were watching your videos, one thing that I was perceiving is that I know for sure that a lot of them couldn't, like, a lot of them, instead of them asking the question why, they'll probably just wanted to chuck a stab at you, or they'll just want to, just get attacked straight away. It's like, if anything, if they've seen you, they'll probably, have a punch on, with you, just because, right? Just because they don't agree with it. But then you need to come into, like, the perspective of just asking the question why. Okay, all right, bare minimum. All right, cool. All right, I get it. Okay, why? Right? Because when you start asking the question why, then you start to actually bring a bit of connection, and you start to, bring up the truth. So I just wanted to put that in there, because I do believe that a lot of people just don't know. It's either they don't know or they don't care, right? And for those out there that don't know and do want to know, right, one of the best ways that you can get truth out is just by asking the question why.
Yeah, pretty much. And I guess it's absolutely, and I support this, it's absolutely crucial, especially for our community, to be curious, to be young, inquisitive minds, and question things, not question things to attack, but question things to understand. It's really upsetting that there are, and I guess one really important thing to take is that sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, you might just not get the answer, or you will never get the opportunity for them to answer, and you just have to be okay with that. You have to be, because it sucks. It really sucks when
It does.
you question and you want to find out more, and for whatever reason, they might not know, or they refuse to let you know, or for again anything in between. You're not going to get the closure of the or justification or reason as to why things are the way they are. And that's when you have to make a decision with yourself. Do I still want to be here? Do I still want to exist in this space if I'm not growing, if I'm going in the opposite direction and I'm actually going backwards because like everything's getting sucked out of me, whether it be resources, positive energy, mental health, is it still worth being here? Now these are questions or topics that should be taken into consideration with a lot of seriousness. I do not want to expect a 14-year-old young person to get up and have this and then just leave.
Mm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. It does totally make sense. And I think if anything, the truth is going to come out anyways. No matter what, like truth is going to come out. Now, for the parents out there that may be listening, always understand
Can you hear that? Sorry. Can you hear?
No, that's all good, bro.
Oh, okay, because there's no vacuum on. There's no vacuum on. What are you talking about?
Nah, that's all good, man. But yeah, as I was saying, like for the parents out there, and like, hey, I can't say anything because I'm not a parent, but I know I'm going to be a parent soon, and I'm not soon, but like as in like in the future, bro, don't be doing that, man.
No, what do you mean? I'm seven. You're in Australia now. You're rich. You're in Australia.
Hey, this is crack up, bro. Oh, this is so crack up, man. But hey, as I was saying, man, I can't vouch anything as a parent, but I do have a lot of conversations with parents, and I guess one of the issues that is raised is that people need to understand that when it comes to parents don't have it all together, right? They don't have it all together. Just like us, us as children of a parent, we don't have it together too. So at the end of the day, if anything, what we should be doing is instead of us believing everything that they're saying, why don't we just jump on a journey together? That's something that I'm always about, jumping on a journey with someone like, hey, if you don't know something cool, let's go on a journey and let's do it together. Because if anything, we're going to learn more about this specific issue. Like, guys, I've learned so much about this issue, right? Just by being in this conversation with Pnuks, right? Jumping on, having conversation with him. And even that, guys, like we're having fun, like we don't have to be, in our, three-piece suit, having a network meeting, even though that'd be helpful. But like, we don't actually have to do that to have a conversation and raise the issue and bring out truth. If anything, like this should be done more often. Like we should actually have it, we should be having conversations about this more often. But I wouldn't say necessarily having conversations like this at meetings or having conversations, like this at network meetings or, big meetings. For me personally, I feel like we should be doing this naturally. Like we should be having conversations and speaking to other people and not being able to kind of have that hate or shades at you. But obviously that's the world that we live in. But yeah, I got a question for you, bro. Because
what is your question? What is your question, my friend?
I know that you had a lot of backlashes from this. What were some of the ways that you were able to manage this? Only because I know that there are going to be some people that are listening to this and they're so ready, right? They're so ready to, ask the question why, but we already know that backlash is going to come into play. So what would you say for you that has helped you out in terms of managing backlashes, from the comments or even people in general?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow. So yeah, I've had many years as a teenager in regards to experiences of online navigation. I've been on the darkest places of the internet. I've been in chat rooms where like terrible things have happened. The privacy has been breached. People have been doxxed. Bullying of the highest caliber was existing here. So like the backlash was nothing. The backlash I was getting from poly rappers and in my videos was just a walk in the park for me. That I'm fine with that. Racism, on the other hand, or race now that hits differently, and that is something. And I don't want to expose my weaknesses and say like, oh, this is something that gets to me. It does. It doesn't. It's just when you deal with Polynesian, when you deal with the Polynesian community, the Pacifica community, and they give this like they're bullying air quotes when they bully you in air quotes. It's honestly just the typical funny like petty humor that we have. Like, oh, why are you talking? Your teeth's not straight. And I was like, wow, that's pretty funny, but that's also mean, but funny. It's mean. It's mean, but it's funny, but it's mean. And it holds no weight. They're just like they don't stick on me. They do their very best. And what I've come to realize is as I further myself through further education, whether it's TAFE or university, you start to value arguments a lot more when they actually stick to the point. When the criticism is not attacking you, it attacks the argument that you put forward to the community. That's when I take it seriously. So it's gauging whether the feedback that you're getting or the backlash you're getting is actually valid. And when it's not. It's like it's useless. It's just a random nobody screaming into the void. And that's why I love saying to people, it's like, I don't know why you're trying so hard because I don't know why you're trying so hard right now. And I don't want to say you're barking up the wrong tree. There's no tree. You're just barking. And it makes no sense. Yeah. And it's so zesty. It gives me so much content. These people give me so much content. I think it's absolutely dangerous to let it slide though. In some situations, there are some people who you just have to pull them up and like, yeah, no, that's just factually wrong. What you're saying holds no bearing whatsoever. Unfortunately, what you said is not how anything works in the world. So when it comes to, I think it was something to do with parents, right? So a lot of the some people got so tilted and upset. They're like, "You're not even a parent. If you were a parent, then you wouldn't be saying this." And that's I want to break that point across. You don't have kids, therefore you don't know. You can't talk about this, which is a really, really weird way of saying you can't talk about abusing your children because you don't have kids. Wait until you have kids, then you can see why it's okay to abuse your children. And it's like, that's messed up. That shit needs to change. That is toxic. Another thing is that you can't shut down a 15 or 17 or 18-year-old when they share their lived experiences of a toxic parent and say that young person needs to shut up because they're not a parent. It's like, no, you need to listen to that because we need to fix this. We need to change our behaviors so we don't have any like young person having to speak up about it. Yet alone just speak up in general. There are so many young people that are frightened. They are absolutely petrified to speak up on this issue simply because the last time they did, they were homeless for 7 months by their own family. So like, you're not having kids. No, that's a weak excuse. That's a weak argument. People who use that need to sit down. They really need to sit down. Hate comments. You don't know, parents commenting. Calm down, man. You're only defensive because you're the person I'm probably exposing right now. Like, the reason why you're upset at my video is because I called you out, and what I'm saying probably describes you and the behaviors you're doing. And you're trying to defend it. You're trying to defend abusing children. It's just like, that's a really, I don't know why you want to die on that hill. That's a weird hill to die on if you want to like abuse kids and defend it. It's just weird. I don't know why people do that.
Yeah. And you know what though? Like, this is real things. Like the very thing that we're talking about is the very thing that is not really being spoken about in terms of in the world. Like, as in the social media world, like I haven't really kind of been tossed around that. But hey, we already know right now, like, and like this is where like this is the reason why I said like we're getting real deep, because we both already know about suicide rates. Right, we already know what's the go. Yeah, see what I mean, bro? See
yeah, the suicide rates.
Legit.
Yeah, all right. Number one is what we are. It's so dumb. It's so messed up. It should never be this high. But do you want a bit of tea? You want a bit of zesty tea? I poured this out in 2015. I called this out in 2015, and I called it out in the very hometown that had the spike in New Zealand. That was my hometown. I called it out in 2015. And do you know what the response was? It's not our community. It's not our kids. It's not the Samoan kids. It's the Tongan kids. It's not the Tongan kids. No one took accountability. And also, I was younger then. I was much more handsome back then. So yeah, that was it. That was like a really poor justification to not listen. So for those who are living in Australia, New Zealand doesn't have Medicare. For those in New Zealand, your Medicare that you call Medicare is not Medicare. I just want to let that out. I just want to, and it's not a flex. So let me. So for New Zealanders who are listening, and in Australia, there's a healthcare system where you are able to go into any medical center that bulk bills, and bulk bill is a term used to describe the service that the government pays. So if you go to a medical center, you give them your Medicare card, and you're able to see a doctor for free. I can hear the Americans in the background. It's not really free. It's not really free. You pay taxes. Calm down. Can't. So you don't pay the upfront cost, and if you don't earn enough, you don't pay it at all. So technically, in a way, it's free. In New Zealand, for our Australian listeners, there is a system put in place where it's a loan kind of system. So it's a tab system. So you go see the doctor, and you have to pay. But depending on who you are, if you are on the Centrelink version of New Zealand, then the cost of seeing a doctor goes from $50 to like $15, which is fine, right? It's fine if you earn good money. If you're earning Centrelink money, $15 might as well be $50. So not only is there a financial barrier in regards to the healthcare system, but when I went into my hometown in Porirua to find out what's going on for young people in regards to services, their mental health services does not exist. There is no headspace. There is no reach out. There is none of that exists in my hometown, yet alone New Zealand. So when I pointed out, when I started to do like some like low key Facebook research and stuff like that to find out what's the process, when I found out what the process was, I wasn't surprised that kids were just like falling like flies in regards to suicide. So yeah, not only is there a cultural barrier in regards to like young people going outside of the community to get support from mental health professionals, because for some weird reason, the communities always expect the minister to be the be-all and end-all of answers and questions, because the minister is not just the minister, they're the doctor, they're the nurse, they're the psychologist, the counselor, the school counselor, the teacher, the principal, the deputy principal, when they're not necessarily qualified in that area. They're not qualified in that, but you get shunned if you reach outside of the community to get professional mental health. And when you do so, you go to the doctor, you're expected to pay $50, and then you don't even see a doctor, you see a nurse. And in order to get a mental health plan, once you get a mental health plan, which is a voucher, I'm condensing it, it's just an easy way of saying it's a mental health voucher, we can get free sessions, you'll be waiting like 6 to 8 weeks for support. And it's like, by the time that happens, it's already too late. So I called that out in 2015, and then 2018 happened, and then New Zealand was number one spot of youth suicides in the world, and one of the biggest ones was in Porirua. And I was like, I'm not surprised. Absolutely devastating that happened, and that should have never happened if they listened. Not just to me, but literally every young person that was concerned about mental health or anything in general, they should have listened to, but they didn't. They didn't listen to them. And that's why they have that right.
Yeah. And you know what, man? Like just us talking about this, it makes you empathize for every young youth that committed suicide of that time period, and looking at it and being like, okay, who's actually responsible? The first thing they'll say is, all right, the parents are. Or even not, they're going to say, oh, it's the fact that they didn't reach out. Realistically, right? Realistically speaking, there's a reason why suicide is a thing. There's a real reason why people do commit suicide. Like, this is the reason why I said this is going to be a real thing. Like, we're going to get into real zone. This is like we're going right deep into talking about truth here, because, you know, I empathize for those out there that committed suicide due to the fact that they were literally seeking out for support, but no one knew. Right? No one got the gist. No one understood. Like, a kid that feels neglected or a kid that's feeling isolated. I feel sorry for them that they didn't have someone like ourselves. Guys. I'm not saying that. Oh, we're perfect professionals. I'm just saying that we're just guys that are wanting to empathize over young people because we understand. We come for our own lived experience, but even that, we've got our own story that keeps running through our mind every time we speak to a young person.
Yeah, I just want to add in there as a disclaimer, guys. I am not a psychologist or a counselor, nor am I a mental health professional. I am simply someone who is explaining their lived experiences around the situation in New Zealand. And if this topic or this theme does trigger you, please. There are our man right here, our boy right here, will put in some supporting information in Australia to get some support. And unfortunately, if you're in New Zealand, you have to pay for it. I don't know how. But in Australia, there are some freely available services for young people in regards to mental health. So yes, I thought I'll cover myself legally.
Bro, at this time of age, bro, this is what we got to do, man. Like we got to put in these disclaimers, bro. So I do actually appreciate you, man, dropping that in. But yeah, like just to wrap up that little conversation that we we're just having, like it raises more issues in terms of truth. Now I believe that there's not. It's like you're hearing the truth, but not the whole truth. That's what I'm seeing in terms of like the cultural, like, and that's why we got to ask the question why, right? Why do we do what you do? Why are you? Let's say, for example, why are you going to that specific school? Or like for those that the like the young people, or for a 15 or 17-year-old kid that's working at McDonald's, why do you believe that you should pay half of your wage into your family, whatever the case may be, whatever case you're going through, just question yourself why. Right? I'm not telling you guys what to do. I'm just asking, I'm just kind of getting you to question yourself, right? Allow yourself to go through kind of a self-discovery to figure out exactly the true issue or the true reason as to why you're doing what you're doing. Because I believe that once you start to find your why, then you will start to find the purpose as to why you're actually doing the certain thing that you're doing, whether it's, going to school, whether it's going to uni, whether it's going to, going to a specific church, whatever you're going, right? The more that you become curious, the more, or I guess the better clarity that you're going to get, which will help you in terms of revealing the truth. And I guess, the moral of this whole conversation that we've been having, if you're tuning right now being like, all right, I don't know what this whole thing's all about, like, let's allow me to give you guys a summary of what we're doing today, right? Today, what the whole goal was just to expose the truth, right? If anything, right? Get into the habit of exposing the truth, but bringing everything that has been hidden in darkness, right? Bring it into the light. Because if anything, you're probably in a position right now. If you're brainwashed, or if you're listening to this and you've zoned out, you are most likely in a position right now where you have been brainwashed, right? Or you just don't know, or someone's told you something. And as a result, like you kind of get into the position to ask the question why. And this is the reason why we're doing this. Is this so that it kind of gives you, a bit more clarity, but also an opportunity for you to ask the questions as to why, so that your truth can be revealed.
Yeah, and I guess touching on top of the theme of brainwash, for those who are listening and feeling slightly attacked, so I'm not brainwashed. Look, when we say things like you're being brainwashed, this also takes into account that this was no fault of your own. Yes. This had nothing to do with you. You were simply birthed in this situation, born in this situation, and given no alternative perspective on what you're being taught. So from outside, from people who see you from the outside, what we see is someone who has been taught to believe a certain way and to never question, and only believe that with all their soul. That can be seen as someone that's been brainwashed. But again, that was no fault of your own. You had no one outside of your immediate family, whether it's parents or siblings, to know anything else. So when we do say these terms and use it, just remember that we're not doing it to attack you. We're doing it to simply express and explain the point of view in which we're seeing from outside the situation, because we know what it's like to be in that situation. And in some circumstances, people had to go through extremes to get out of it, i.e., face homelessness, face extreme trauma, have a family death happen in the situation. Like, we want people to be able to, we want Pacifica people in our own community to be able to detach themselves out of the inner circle without having to go through these extremes. They shouldn't have to be homeless. They shouldn't have to run away from home. They shouldn't have to go through sexual abuse to be able to detach themselves and see the bigger picture. They should just be able to do it with confidence and in safety. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, now this is so good, man. If anything, like, I'm listening to this and saying to myself, bro, if I heard this a lot more earlier, when I was a lot more younger, man, I would have been so much more free. Hey,
I would save so much money. I would have had my Lamborghini straight away is what I would have had. I could have had my Kim Kardashian in LA, but in like Mount Druitt, like just like 7 years earlier. You know what I mean? I could have had the life if someone told me this. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what's the cool thing about this, man, is that everyone has a story. Like I have a story, you have a story, and I also know for those out there that are listening and tuning in onto this podcast, you have a story too. And if anything, I would highly like empower you right now to start getting into the habit of sharing your story. You don't have to share every little thing about your story, but just share what's comfortable. I think there is so much breakthrough and there's so much freedom in terms of you going out there and sharing your story. But speaking of story, I do want to touch on one more thing, and then we're going to wrap up this podcast because, man, there is too many gems in here, right? That, like, I feel like, bro, like,
it's going to take me 3 hours to go. It's going to take me 3 hours to edit the
video. But hey, it's all good. It's all good. So, the question I'll go for you, man, is, I was actively listening. I was hearing to, what you were talking in terms of your setback. I recalled the moment where you mentioned about homelessness.
Hey, no one's excited.
So funny, bro. No one look at you, be like, what the heck? This guy was homeless.
It shut them down. Yeah, them down.
That's probably what shut them down. Knowing that you went through that, like, what was the real setback behind that? What was the real setback?
So the setback in regards to that was that the trajectory in which I wanted for my life and what my parents wanted was, go through education, get a job, and then once you have the fundamentals, pat down, do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. That's what. But because of the situation I went through, like 7 years ago now. No, wow. I lied. 8 years ago now. It set me back in regards to progress. So the the focus now isn't to get the fundamentals down in regards to like education and job and career. Now it's just surviving. That's what you do, and that's what you've. And I tried. I was in the middle of my diploma of youth work, and then I had to defer that for like 5 years. It took me 5 years to complete a 12-month course. It was, So that's only one of various things. I'm only recently going into uni. Like I started my second year of uni this year. I had to go through the pathway course to get a diploma to go into uni. I only found out that I'm entitled to go to uni like in 2019. Like, there are so many things that I am doing now that I should have done and then completed already. So in regards to setback, that's crazy. However, a lot of support people from various services are like, look, if it wasn't for these experiences that you've went through, you wouldn't be able to influence, empower, and remind people of like the other side to the Australian dream, the other side to the situation, because this is something a lot of people go through, but they don't get the platform, they don't get the engagement that you now have to be able to share that. And I'm like, okay, I know you're trying to make me feel better, and it's working, but yeah, it's Yeah, I remember having to look back and reflect on the situation, and I absolutely broke down. It broke me because of how throughout this journey of going through, a refuge, a youth refuge, a medium-term refuge, going through, I've been through workers' compensation, I've been through workplace discrimination. I had to fight against my store manager. I had to do all the things that you could possibly think about that went wrong with a young person went wrong with me. And having realized that everything could have been worse. It could have been worse at every aspect of my journey going through the services. I could have went through the homelessness service and not get a job. I could have been fired. I could have, with my disability, with my prosthesis, it could have broken. I couldn't work. And for those who are from New Zealand, you would know that New Zealanders aren't entitled to Centrelink if you came after a certain period of time. If you came after this year, which is what I did. So yeah, there were so many things that have gone wrong, and I'm just trying to inch my way back, climbing back to where I am. And I feel like I'm comfortable here, and I'm starting where I left off like 7 years ago. So ta-da! It's heavily condensed. It's a very heavily condensed version of that. I hope everyone was in their sitting down and listening position when I heard that story. But yeah, that's the situation in regards to setback and homelessness.
Yeah, wow. And so knowing that was your setback, what was your setup? How did you get yourself out of that? How were you able to be the person that you are now? Because just like in every story, there's always some sort of a setback, but then there's always some sort of a setup. So what was your setup? What was something that had helped you to get to where you are now?
I think it was the status that I was a New Zealand citizen that really put the stress up, because I wasn't entitled to anything. But my experience of doing youth work, so I did my certificate for youth work, and I started to find out that if you are under the age of 25, you can get almost in Sydney, almost anything for free. However, you have to go through the most extremes of situation to just find out that they exist in the first advantage of every opportunity that was given to me simply because I was a young person. Because like Salvation Army, that became my Centrelink. Mission Australia, that became my youth allowance. Like these services and skill to make the best out of a really shitty situation. And honestly, if it wasn't for the support people like counselors, caseworkers, supporting me on my goal and journey to like Mission Australia, they paid for my driving lessons. They paid for my driving lessons, and the reason why they paid for my driving lessons was because they've got this policy where they can provide financial support, but it has to go towards a goal, and that goal has to be either employment or education. And I said, if I was to get my manual license, it would be a whole lot easier for me to get into the community sector, because they need drivers, and a lot of the vehicles in these community sectors are manual vehicles. Yeah, so they paid for it. I had like 2.5 or $2,000 worth of driving lessons that they just funded me. So because of that, I got my P's straight away. When I got my P's, I got my job in the community sector in Redfern. So like that was just like, those are one of many situations that stepped me up in regards to like the situation I went through. So yeah. I'm putting my thumbs up for those listeners who can't see my thumbs up.
Oh, that's amazing, man. Like that's amazing to see, where you were before and looking at where you are now. But not just looking at where you are now, but like understanding the story as to how you got to where you are right now. And I guess it might have been, quite amazing for you, or a feel good moment for you to actually reflect a bit about it.
Yeah, no, it was pretty good. It does feel good, and I do my best to. Well, it's weird. I don't like speaking about these situations, not because I'm embarrassed, not because because it's always fun. It's a good flex. It's a good flex. But I like to, I like to at least try and convey myself and have, I guess, people value me based on what I've done now after the fact, after the situation. And when people get upset over the content I do and then try and claim that I'm white, I'm a wannabe white boy, it's like, oh, okay, now I'm gonna pull this card out and just like shut you up. Just make
Yeah.
you just shut up. Because it reflects on them. They're like, holy crap, this person is so he's in a position where I am gonna just judge him and make him and put him on the same level as white people who have always been privileged over the centuries. But he's also come from he came from here. What am I doing with my life? If he can come from here and he's here, what am I doing? It's like, yeah, well, what are you doing, my guy? Because at the moment, you're just a blank account in my TikTok comment section being unproductive. And that's on you. Yeah, really hits them in the feels, really hits them.
Oh, man. All I'm going to say, bro, is that I really, really enjoyed this session, man. I really did.
Oh, same.
Yeah, man. But hey, I'm going to wrap up this session. Just also because I do know that, I know that we're going to have like more talks about this because this does need to be spoken about. But I guess as we start to wrap up this, I know that there are some people listening to this session, and I guess they're probably, seeking out for that kind of last, bomb dropping, encouragement, or I guess a golden gem that they can take away. But bro, I want to give you this time, man, like an opportunity for you. There are people who are listening into this session, whether it's through the Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or perhaps they're watching this video through YouTube, and they're probably going through a bit of a low. What would you do, or what would be an encouragement that you would love to share for those out there that are listening and watching?
Right, a bit of encouragement. Damn, really put me on the spot there. Even though you told me way before we started the podcast, you're going to do this to me. So encouragement. I would highly recommend you surround yourself around positive people. I know that sounds very lame, but the fact that positive people, but people who also challenge you to help you grow. If you're in a situation where you're not feeling so well, these are the people you need to reach out to. Also, don't be afraid to be who you are. And again, that sounds really like, oh my gosh, that sounds like a white person. But trust me, you learn a little bit more about yourself when you can hear it from a different perspective. And be confident in what you do. And this could be confident in how you walk, be confident in how you convey yourself, but definitely be confident in the way you speak and talk, and don't let anyone. Yeah. Oh man, sorry. Is that lame? Oh man, there's just a lot of trauma. I feel like trauma builds a lot of character. It really does. And don't let the trauma consume you. Definitely take mental health seriously. Reach out to people who have similar experiences and be able to just support each other on that. Yeah. We need to do this. We need this in our community.
Yeah. No, we do, man. We do. But hey, bro, I'm already being encouraged by what you're saying, man. And I think just through this whole session, I've been encouraged by, I guess not just your heart on why you do what you do, but just on who you are, man. If anything, this is the first time we've met, right? And I feel I know more about you than like a bloke that you've probably been with, for the rest of your life. Or let's say perhaps family members, right? I'll probably know more, or I guess the real side of you that maybe not a lot of people didn't really want to either meet or didn't even know about you. So, yeah, man, bro, it's been a great conversation. I really enjoyed this, this podcast episode. But let's say, for example, there are some people out there that are listening that are wanting to know more about you, or that are wanting to connect with you. What are the best ways that they can connect with you in terms of, talking to you and reaching out?
Oh yeah, so the best way to talk to me is definitely through Instagram. That I do my best to reply frequently to that. I stopped. I didn't even know that people. I didn't even know for a while that you could message people on TikTok. I just turned the notifications off because there's just too many. But definitely Instagram's the best way to hit me up. Definitely do that if you want to talk to me and stuff, and I will reply. If I don't reply straight away, please don't be discouraged. Please don't be discouraged. I will come back as soon as I can and I'll reply. Yeah.
Yes. So for those out there that are watching this this video on YouTube, it'll be down in the links down below, and you guys can check that out. But if you're listening to Spotify or Apple Podcasts right now, I'd highly encourage you guys to jump over into our Instagram page at the Impact Podcast Show, and you'll see Pnuks on our page who'll be promoted there too. And all you guys need to do is just click on there. Now, if you can't find the post, because this has been, I don't know, it might have been 2-3 years later.
I've been tagged in it. I've been tagged in it. So definitely, if you want to see the original bare minimum post. Yeah, so if you want to see the original video, go to my profile and go to the tags, because I've been tagged, and you'll see that's where it is. If you want to find it on TikTok, I am so sorry, that's just not going to happen.
There's just too much content. Yeah, there's too much content there, bro.
Man, it's a wild space. It's a wild space.
Yeah, man. But for those out there that are listening, if you guys jump on our page, and you're just wanting to get to Pnuks' page, you can either go onto because he's going to be promoted as one of the posts on our Impact Podcast Show Instagram page, or you can go into our following. So if you guys check out our following, you'll see all the special guests, and that'll be an easy accessible way for you to get a hold of our special guests. So guys, that's it. That's all we got. Pnuks, thank you so much for jumping on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, all good, man. I appreciate it, man. And guys, that's all we got. Thank you guys all for watching.